What's up, everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're looking to get your music reviewed, you can hit up this email that's right here. But today I'm going to hit you up with my thoughts and opinions on this new album from Game, and it is called Born to Rap. Now, the Game is a Compton rapper who made a lot of waves in the early 2000s when he signed to G-Unit/Aftermath and then released the album The Documentary. I think that's a classic. I love that album. You can argue about that if you want to. But since then, he's had his ups and downs, just like any other rapper who's been in the game for about 15 years, or even more. I mean, he does have some other work that he did drop before The Documentary, but that was the first one that made a big splash. So since then, things have been up and down, as I said. In recent years, I did like The Documentary 2/2.5. I thought that was a great double disc album, and then he dropped 1992 a couple years ago, which I thought was completely forgettable. But he does have some other good albums earlier in his discography. I'm actually not going to take the time to break all that down and get into his beef history, because even his beef history would take a long ass time to break down, and this is already a long review because this album is very damn long. I'm going to be honest with you guys, when I first saw the title for this, Born to Rap, which to me is just very uninventive, just a boring album name, once I saw that and then that cheesy album cover and saw how long the album was, man, my expectations dropped lower and lower than a long, saggy giraffe's nutsack just scraping across the floor. That would be a very long, draggy nutsack. I probably could have used a different animal for that. But anyway, all I'm saying is I did not have high expectations for this one. But in the end, man, I ended up thinking that this was pretty dope. And I think if you're someone who came up on the Game, like you came up listening to him in the early 2000s, you really will appreciate this, because he does spend much of the project actually speaking on his come up. And you're going to get all kinds of references to his old work, as well as references to some of the stuff that he went through back in the day. You might remember some of the various news stories and beefs, as I said. He even gets into some very cool throwback bars, samples, and interpolations. Really just a cool project with lots of little Easter eggs, as you might say. So I really did appreciate this album in that way. And you know, it did kind of start off slow, I'm not going to lie to you. That Ed Sheeran intro called City of Sin was a bit of an odd choice, has a decent instrumental on it, but you know, I didn't really love this track. It didn't get me in the mood to listen to a Game album, but thankfully things get into high gear very quickly. So with the first track, No Smoke, I love the live drums from Travis Barker on this, as well as the electric guitar on the production. Thought this was a great beat. And here Game is just reflecting on how he helped uplift the West, and how he even put Nipsey and Kendrick, he didn't put them on, but he took them on tour, I'll say, and he really did help push for them. I mean, it's not that the West Coast was dead when Game came out, but if you remember when he did come out, he really put the West Coast on his back. He was really representing for that harder than anybody else, which I thought was pretty dope, man. On G-Unit, you had him repping the South. You had Lloyd Banks, of course, and 50 Cent. They're representing for the East. Young Buck holding it down for the South. Tony Yale. It was just cool how they had these different sides of the rap game being held down. So I thought it was pretty cool how Game really put the West Coast on his back then. And on this track, he also reminisces about how Missy won Grammys over him, and it did kind of hurt him, but he learned very quickly in the rap game that things don't always go the way that you want them to go. So there are these introspective moments on here. I really do appreciate how he's looking at his past and telling us some of the stuff that maybe we didn't know, or maybe stuff that we forgot about. Like, I didn't remember this shit going on at the Grammys with him and Missy, but I thought that was pretty cool. And the reminiscing actually continues with the next song, $500 Candles. This one has a very smooth beat on it. I really like the overall sound here. It's kind of hazy. You also get Dom Kennedy on the hook, whose sleepy style fits perfectly with the beat. And on this one, he's reflecting on being a gang member who made it from the streets to the cover of Vibe. And he's also fantasizing over Christina Aguilera on this track, which I thought was kind of funny, because anyone who was coming up back then, you know you were fantasizing over Christina Aguilera, especially when she had that Dirty video come out. Do you remember that one where she's like in the wrestling ring? Redman was in that song. She's wearing that tiny little skirt that barely was covering anything, man. She was popping that ass like some popcorn, man. She was just throwing that ass around like candy at a damn parade. It was all over the place. Not like a huge booty or anything, but it was cool. You might remember that video. It even had a disclaimer on it here in Canada. I don't know if it did everywhere else, but it basically just told you that this is going to be a slutty ass video, so you know what you're watching when you're getting into that. I thought that was pretty dope. And as I mentioned, Dom Kennedy, who's featured on this song, he does show up on other songs as well, including on the boastful joint Gold Daytonas, which borrows a beat from Junior Mafia's track Get Money. That was another throwback joint. And while I don't always like when artists do these interpolations or borrow beats and samples from previous work, I thought it tied in very nicely here, and Game certainly knows how to do that well. He does do it better than a lot of other rappers do. Of course, in the same field, we can talk about the song Stainless featuring Anderson .Paak. This one takes the beat from Tupac's classic track Picture Me Rollin'. And while I did think this was a pretty smooth song, it certainly wasn't bad and it worked fine as a single. It was one of those instances that made me want to go back and listen to Picture Me Rollin'. Sometimes when you do these interpolations or borrow from other tracks, that's all it does. It reminds you of the original track, especially if it's a classic like that song, you know what I mean? I got keys coming from overseas. Big Psych, R.I.P. I believe he passed away a while ago, but that was one of the more memorable lines from that track. So cool song, just reminded me of the Tupac song. And also with the song Rewind 2, he's actually borrowing the same concept and beat from Nas's song Rewind. I thought that was pretty cool. Did I just say Rewind 2 and then Rewind? Like I kind of said the word weird each time that I said it. Either way, he has taken the same beat. It's the same concept where he's telling a story backwards. Didn't love the beat on this, but I always thought that was a cool concept, and Game certainly is showing his ability to tell a story and flex some lyricism on this track, so that was pretty cool. And there's all kinds of other stuff to get into here, man. I really am digging into some of these interpolations, references, and samples, because that's something that I think really does stick out throughout this project if you recognize the stuff. So on the song The Light, for example, when I first saw the title of this one, I already knew that it was going to have something to do with Common's track The Light. And while the beat doesn't sound the same as that, it does flip the same sample from Bobby Caldwell's song. What was that one called? You know, I will be by your side. Not the singer, as you can tell, kind of scratchy. But anyway, it samples that same shit. And on here, Game is actually daring rappers to step into the light. Game has always been brash and bold when it comes to calling out rappers. He's doing the same thing here. He's calling out Chance, Cole, Kendrick, just everybody. Not like in a way where he's saying he's got a problem with these people, but just saying you can step up to the light if you want to and you can get this work. At least that's how I took the song. So thought that was pretty cool. I liked the beat on that. I thought Game was rapping his ass off on that song. And for the most part, like, I've seen a lot of people talking about this album. They're just complaining that it's too long and, you know, they think it's trash and this and that. I actually really like this album quite a bit. I think he was rapping his ass off on a lot of these tracks. Usually when an album is long, that's something I complain about. You know that if you've been watching my channel for a while. But I was pretty interested through this whole album, man. I think a lot of the production is great, which I will get into more. There's lots of concepts to keep things interesting. There's a variety of sounds. Another cool moment on here has got to be Carmen Electra. The hook and the beat on this come from D'Angelo's song Devil's Pie. I always like that. It's very slinky with that bass line. Just love the feel of it. And this is just a slinky, haunting gangsta-ass track featuring bars from Mozzie and Osby Chill. So I thought this was one of the standout cuts. I thought Osby Chill had a lot of personality in his verse. That was the first time I heard him that I can remember, but I liked how he sounded. He kind of snapped on there. And shout out to Carmen Electra, who, much like Christina Aguilera back in the day, was fine as hell, man. You know, she was holding it down. Carmen Electra was doing her thing. So to keep things moving here, another interpretation. Once again, this is the theme. And like, when you hear these interpretations, not all of them are like right in your face. There are some of these beats that are pretty much identical that I did speak on. Other times it's just these little things that will remind you of a song rather than feeling like he's just jacking all the shit from the song and that's all it's going to remind you of. But anyway, a perfect example is on Hug the Block, where the hook kind of subtly throws back to Slum Village and Kanye's track Selfish. Maybe not so subtly because it has the same melody, but I thought that was a cool moment. And this was just a very heartfelt track, man. This is a song where Game is going deep into family drama, stuff that happened when his father died and the family just started butting heads or whatever. And I believe much of this has to do with his brother, or his half-brother, Big Face 100. I guess they had some beef there. So there's a lot of emotional delivery on the song, especially on that last verse. It really helps add to the sincerity of it. And Game is just saying, once again, you know, he's not shy about calling people out, and this time it's his brother, because clearly they have some issues. So I thought that was a standout moment. You get another heartfelt moment on the Nipsey Hussle tribute called I Didn't Want to Write This Song. Beautiful beat on this, very gentle and kind of somber, which matches the feel of the track, obviously, since it is a dedication to Nipsey. And Marsha Ambrosius is on the hook, who just always snaps on hooks, man. Can we give Marsha Ambrosius some love? Every time you see her featured, she does great on the hook, which she does here. And I also liked on this one how you get this bar where Game says, if I come, tell God to let me in, give him the room next to Aaliyah with ESPN, which was a line from the song Runnin', from the album The Documentary. I love that song Runnin'. That was one of my favorite songs on there. High Tech on the production. He is underrated as fuck in my opinion. If you're not familiar with him, look up some of his work because he's great. So that was another cool little reference there. And this track was actually preceded by the song Welcome Home, which features Nipsey. And Nipsey does spit this haunting bar where he says, "Gave my mind to these millions and my heart to the game. Probably die up in these streets, but I survived through my name." So obviously we know what happened to R.I.P. Nipsey. Kind of like he was seeing the future when he was spitting that right there. So I really have been gushing about this album so far, and just my love for all these throwback references to songs that I love, how he's breaking down, you know, not just personal stuff within his life, but also the stuff he went through while he was coming up in the game and making this album. Can't get into all of it because this album is so long, but there's a lot of that going on here. I think his bars, for the most part, to me personally, they were pretty interesting. I could understand maybe you wouldn't be into it if you're not a game fan or you don't care to hear him rehash some of this stuff. It might not be interesting, but I thought this was a really dope album, so I did appreciate that. But there are definitely some moments on here. Whew, there's some bad moments, man. As expected, with such a long album, there are a couple of moments that just aren't that great. Like Gangsters Make the Girls Go Wild featuring Chris Brown. This is just a clunky and unnecessary remix, basically, of the West Side Connection classic Gangsters Make the World Go Round. So this is an instance where borrowing from a great song doesn't work in his favor. I thought this was really bad. And that song called Dead Homies, and also the song Roadside, those are my other two least favorites. So with Dead Homies, this has a very dull beat, and then you're getting this hook from Red Cafe where he's just rapping about fucking this girl's ass to sleep. I don't think he means he's actually just doing anal until she goes to sleep, man. That would be some pretty hardcore drilling. Maybe that's what he means, or maybe he's just saying it like, I'm gonna fuck your ass to sleep. I don't know, but that's all he's saying. That track was pretty boring and bland, and Game is actually matching just the dullness of the song with some pretty bad bars. Like, he has a line about her pussy being bomber than Saddam Hussein, kicking it with the girl like Liu Kang, just all kinds of lazy bars that, you know, if you're sitting there in the studio watching Game write and record this, you think you would say something like, no man, come on, like, these are some bottom tier lines that probably a million people have said before. But anyway, those were some moments I didn't like. And the song Roadside featuring Ed Sheeran, this just sounds like some fucking Juicy Fruit guitar, campfire rap. I thought this shit was just really bad. You're getting this very cheesy open mic guitar. Game is dropping some very light introspection and musings on racism and other things. It doesn't go too deep. So these were some of my least favorite moments. But to get into some of the other tracks, I'm going to try to wrap this up or I'm going to go forever. The song West Side was pretty cool. This is like a Tupac tribute where he's sort of borrowing and mimicking Tupac's style on there. That was pretty cool. Then with the video, it actually is referencing California Love when you watch it. It's got that Mad Max shit going on. Ask For Me, this is some quality luxury rap where it would have been perfect for Rick Ross, just the way the beat sounds. Game is spitting these yacht bars over these lavish strings, I believe, are on there, as well as some piano, just some great production. He's reminiscing here about all the rappers and producers he's worked with, because over the years, man, he has worked with some legends and icons and held his own a lot of the time, so that was pretty dope. Then the inspirational joint, Blood Thicker Than Water. This has great sample work courtesy of Street Runner. You're getting some great vocals from Trey Songz on here as well. I really did like this song. Just some uplifting bars from Game. We also get 40 Ounce Love. This has some great soulful chops on it. Yet again, the production, I think, throughout this album is really dope. I really liked a lot of these beats. And here, Game spits 15 years of greatness, 15 years of hating, 15 years of patience. That's what I had to practice so I don't end up back on that county jail mattress. As someone who's been listening to Game since way back when he first came out, man, pretty crazy to think it's been 15 years. It just goes to show you how time flies. Like, I can remember stuff that I was doing back when that album dropped. I was only about 20, so I was really in my prime, hitting the clubs. They were playing a lot of his songs, playing it at parties and stuff. A lot of good memories of that, so it's pretty cool to think he's been at it for that long. I also thought the title track, Born to Rap, was dope. This one really breaks down the making of the documentary and how Jigga called Hate It or Love It a smash, which helped propel his career because apparently things weren't working out that great, but then just getting that cosign from Jay-Z helped out. And Gucci Flip Flops actually starts with a Jigga sample, but then Game is making it clear that he still wants a song with Jay-Z before he dies, because he hasn't had that yet. He wants to go toe-to-toe, bar for bar with Jay. I think he could definitely do that, because when Game is in the zone, he is in the zone. He just, you know, you're seeing a lot of Jay references on here as well that you'll pick up on, so clearly Game does have a lot of respect for him. And he's also pontificating on this track about how rappers die in cars, people like XXXTentacion, Biggie, and Pac, and how he doesn't want to go out that way. So he's kind of just thinking about these things, musing about life and death. That was dope. And I thought these bars were clever here, where he says, Built my career off the Rock, Memph Bleak in this bitch, coming of age, even squashed my beef with Meek for this shit. So he had that beef with Meek where he did Pest Control. There's a clever reference here to the Rock, Memph Bleak, his album Coming of Age. Those were all dope bars. So yeah, man, there are a lot of good things going on with this album. I almost went with a 3.5 out of 5, but you know what? I'm feeling good listening to this, so I'm going to go with a 4 out of 5. Not a super strong 4, but I was feeling this one, man. You guys know how hard I am on long projects and filler, but there were really only a handful of tracks here that I thought were really bad. I liked a lot of these tracks. Some of the other ones might grow on me more because I did like parts of them. I do like the references and throwbacks, but I could understand why people might not like that because in the past I haven't liked that. It just depends on the way that it's done, and I think he pulls it off here really well. So he said that this is his last album, but we have heard that a million times from rappers before, so who knows if it actually is. But if it is, I think he went out in a good way with this one, and if it's not his last album, I'll be ready to hear more games. So we'll see what happens. That's it. That's my long ass review for a long ass album. You guys let me know how you feel. I ain't feeling that good because I just saw the Eagles get their asses kicked by the Dolphins. That is some bullshit. I shouldn't even be wearing the sweater, but you can't see it's Eagles anyway, so I shouldn't have said anything. But tough times, man. But anyway, hit me up with what you think about this album. We got more reviews on the way. Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit up the YouTube section, comment section, where you show me love and you show me lots of it. Kind of sputtering through this outro because it's been a while. That's just how it is lately. But I appreciate you guys for watching. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.